Alright, so good to be back. In today's video, we're going to check and remove field rows. So this is our Tetris game, but first things first, I'm going to go up here on view, appearance. We want to work in Zen mode. Okay, so you can see decentralize everything and it's easier to work in this mode. To check and remove field rows is our goal for this video. But before we get into that, let's just do a recap of what we did in our previous tutorial. So I'm going to play this. So yeah, we have these pieces, we can rotate them, lock them down here. Yeah, so down here we have a field row, but it's not being destroyed, and so this is not the behavior that we want. For us to implement this, I'm going to get into our game loop. We also need to understand that we are working with the play grid. Our play grid is the one that is locking our pieces down there, and so we need to remember this play grid. We also need to remember the rows and the columns. The first thing is we are starting from the bottom, we are not starting from the top, and so we need to use for loops. We are looping through our play grid and see whether this row is filled or not. And so I'm going to create a variable called rows here, which is going to be rows -1, which is going to give us a value of 19. And then I'm going to say for row in range rows. Okay, so we're starting from the bottom, counting upwards. So here rows is 19, and we want to go all the way to -1. Of course, if you say -1 is going to count up to 0, and we're also going to go reverse. We're going to go backwards. So -1 is going to be the step. And so this is the start, this is the end, and this is the step. I hope you guys are familiar with the range function, how it works. If you're not familiar with the range function, I have a video on how the range function works. You check one of my videos. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we're going to initialize a variable of counted underscore squares, because we are counting the squares on our grid, and so we're going to assign this a value of 0 initially, and then we're going to loop through our columns. So for core in range rows, this is the number of our columns, and then what we want to do is we want to check if it's filled. So we say if play underscore grid, right? So remember, we are checking this play grid because initially we gave it a value of 0s, but once we lock our pieces down there, it's going to change to a value of 1, and so this is what we're going to do. So we want to check for the row, and then we also want to check for the column. So here, the row and the column. Remember, this is a 2-dimensional grid. Okay, so we want to check for the row and the column for each square, because if it's not filled, it's going to be a 0. If there is a 1 in that, it's going to be true, and so we want to our counted squares to increase, plus equals to 1. Otherwise, we just want to create new rows. Okay, so we want to say play grid, and then we're going to say rows, these rows up here, and then core, and then we're going to assign this to this one, Control C, and then we're going to say Control V down here. So we're just going to assign this to our current grid. Okay, in case we have filled rows, we want to remove them, and then the remainder we want to push them down, and then they are going to be replaced by the new rows that we would have created up here. And so we say if this is where the counted squares come in, if it's less than the columns, so of course we are counting from left to right, if they are not 10, it means that row is not filled. We want to push it down, but if it's filled, it will be removed. We're going to say rows minus equal 1. We are taking these rows and we are pushing them downwards. Let's see if it's going to work. So I'm going to run this. Right at the end, boom, you can see, wow, yeah, so it's working. Here, boom, so it's pushing, it's removing and then pushing downwards, removing and then pushing downwards. This is what we wanted, and it's working. We have a working game here, which is Tetris. All the functions are now working properly here. Obviously, in our next tutorial, we're going to focus on the score and how to end the game. All right, so I hope to see you in our next tutorial. For now, I'm out. Bye-bye.